Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about on nothing can stop you when you have a strong mindset. Mindset is your ultimate power. Your life doesn't rise or fall on your talent, your resources, or your background. It rises or falls on your mindset. Everything starts there. A strong mindset is the engine behind every breakthrough, every victory you've ever witnessed. Before a person changes their results, they change their thinking. Before someone wins publicly, they win privately in their head, in their heart, in the conversations they have with themselves when no one else is around. The world can strip you of almost everything, your job, your money, your opportunities, but it can never take your mindset unless you hand it over. That's why mindset is the ultimate power. It's not given, it's developed, forged. Strengthened through adversity, through repetition, through the hard days where you choose not to break. Most people believe power comes from outside a mentor, a lucky break, a perfect environment. But the truth is, even if you had all those things and your mind wasn't aligned with growth, grit, and resilience, you'd waste them. On the flip side, someone with almost nothing can still build something incredible because their mindset won't let them stop. They see possibilities where others see limits. They don't wait, they move. They don't need to be told what they're worth, they decide it. A weak mindset looks for excuses. A strong one looks for solutions. A weak mindset is scared of change. A strong one knows change is where growth lies. A weak mindset is built on what-ifs, on fear, on opinions. A strong mindset is built on focus, on values, on personal responsibility. When you have the right mindset, the impossible starts to shrink. Mountains begin to move not because they got smaller, but because your belief got bigger. You stop playing the victim and start becoming the architect of your life. You realize the barriers in front of you are not walls, but tests. And the more you pass, the stronger you become. Not just smarter, not just more capable, stronger in who you are and how you see the world. Mindset turns obstacles into training grounds. Every setback becomes a setup for something greater. A closed door becomes redirection, not rejection. And even when you fall flat, even when you feel broken, your mindset reminds you this isn't the end. This is the beginning of the next level. It's easy to have a positive mindset when everything is going right. But power is tested when things fall apart, when your plans crumble, when people doubt you. When you don't see results, that's when most people quit. But a powerful mindset doesn't. It adapts, it endures. It knows that success isn't always loud and fast, it's often slow, quiet, and built on hundreds of unseen choices to keep going. You won't always be the most talented, you won't always be the most connected, but you can always be the most mentally prepared. You can always choose to show up with a mindset that says, I'm not here to survive, I'm here to grow. I'm here to win. That's what separates the ones who talk about dreams from the ones who live them. It's not luck, it's not gifts. It's the mindset to keep building when nothing seems to be working. It's the mindset to keep learning when ego wants to defend. It's the mindset to say no to distractions, to mediocrity, to comfort zones. Your mindset is the lens through which you see every situation. It affects how you respond to failure, how you handle success, how you interpret pain, how you react to pressure. And if you don't train it, life will train it for you. That's the danger. If you don't take control of your mind, the world will shape it into something small, scared, and silent. But when you decide to take control, when you decide to upgrade the way you think, everything around you starts to change. Not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger, because you finally stopped looking for permission and started owning your power. And the moment you own your mindset, you start owning your future. The world can throw chaos at you. It can send failure, rejection, criticism, and setbacks your way, but none of that will ever hit as hard as the chaos happening inside your own mind. The real battle isn't out there, it's within. It's the inner noise that gets deafening when things go quiet. It's the voices that whisper doubt when you're alone. It's the questions that spin endlessly, keeping you frozen. This is the storm that no one else sees, the internal storm, and it's louder, heavier, and more dangerous than anything the outside world can bring. People often talk about pressure from the world, deadlines, financial struggles, career uncertainty, relationship breakdowns. But those are only triggers. The real weight comes from how we interpret those triggers. The storm starts when your mind turns challenges into catastrophes. When a single failure becomes a full identity, when one mistake plays on repeat like a broken record saying, you're not good enough. That voice doesn't yell, it whispers. And that's what makes it powerful, because you start to believe it. What holds most people back isn't lack of opportunity, it's inner resistance. It's the fear of being seen trying and failing. It's the constant comparison to others. It's the belief that you're not ready, not smart enough, not capable. That storm builds silently, no lightning, no thunder, just pressure, invisible pressure that it convinces you to wait, to shrink, to play small, to stay safe. That's the storm that breaks dreams before they ever take form. We've been taught to fight battles outside ourselves, to hustle harder, push more, achieve faster. But rarely are we taught how to silence the storm within, how to confront those invisible scripts running our lives, how to sit with discomfort instead of numbing it, how to replace self-judgment with self-leadership. Until that happens, the noise continues, and no amount of external success will drown it out. Some of the most accomplished people walk with a storm inside them every day. They look calm on the outside, but internally, they're navigating fears they don't speak about. That's the thing, these storms don't care how much money you have, how famous you are, how many followers you've gained. They show up anyway. And if you haven't built the tools to manage them, you start to sabotage yourself. You create drama in peace. You expect failure in progress. You see shadows in light because your mind is tuned to fear, not clarity. Sometimes the loudest storm comes from the quietest past. A childhood where love was conditional. A moment where you were told you weren't enough. A failure that left a scar. And you carry those echoes into everything you do, every relationship, every risk, every dream. You wear armor not to protect yourself from the world, but to guard yourself from your own thoughts. That's why the internal storm is more dangerous than the external one. The world may push you, but your mind is what pulls you back. The truth is, you can't outrun storm. You can't outwork it. You can't pretend it's not there. You've got to face it, not with force, but with honesty. You've got to listen to the voices and decide which ones belong to you and which ones were planted there by fear, by failure, by someone else's doubt. You've got to unlearn the lies. You've got to rewrite the narrative. Because when you calm the storm inside, you start to realize how much power. You wake up tired and suddenly the goals don't seem urgent. You lose momentum and your mind starts whispering, maybe not today. That's where most people stop. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't wait for the perfect mood. It doesn't need inspiration to act. Discipline is about doing what needs to be done regardless of how loud your excuses are or how silent your motivation becomes. It's the quiet force behind every long-term success. It's the reason some people rise while others watch. It's the daily decision to show up, to push through, to repeat, to improve, even when no one is clapping and nothing feels exciting. When you rely on motivation, your performance will always be inconsistent. You'll start strong, then slow down. You'll chase new ideas without finishing old ones. You'll feel excited about the destination, but constantly frustrated by the journey. But when you build discipline, you develop consistency. And consistency always wins in the end. It may not look flashy, but it builds results brick by brick, day by day without the drama or the need for hype. The gym is a perfect example. Motivation gets you there for the first week. Discipline keeps you going when progress is invisible. Writing a book, starting a business, learning a skill, you don't finish because you felt like it every day. You finish because you committed, because you refused to negotiate with your weaker self, because discipline became your standard, not your fallback. There's a reason elite performers don't rely on hype. They know motivation is unreliable, so they create systems, they design routines. They train their minds to follow through, not just start. They remove emotion from the equation and treat their craft like a professional, not a hobbyist. The secret isn't that they're always fired up, it's that they're trained to act regardless of how they feel. That's what separates discipline from the temporary spark of motivation. Discipline doesn't feel good in the moment. It demands sacrifice. It tells you to get up earlier, to stay later, to say no to distractions, to push past your limits when your body says stop. It isn't glamorous. No one celebrates you for it. But it's building something underneath: mental toughness, emotional control, long-term focus. Things motivation can never give you because it doesn't last long enough to create depth. The danger of chasing motivation is that you start to believe something's wrong with you when it disappears. You think you've lost your drive. You start quitting too early, switching paths, doubting yourself. But it's not that you're broken, it's that you were trying to live off a spark instead of building a fire. Discipline is the fire. It's the reason you keep going when everything in you wants to stop. It's the reason success feels earned, not given. The truth is, the most important work is rarely exciting. It's repetitive, it's uncomfortable, it's done in silence. But that's exactly why it works. Because while others are waiting to feel ready, disciplined people are building habits. They're making progress while others are procrastinating. They're practicing patience while others are panicking. They understand that real power comes from consistency, not mood. That's the edge that separates winners from dreamers. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. Motivation can get you started. Discipline. Paths, doubting yourself. But it's not that you're broken, it's that you were trying to live off a spark instead of building a fire. Discipline is the fire. It's the reason you keep going when everything in you wants to stop. It's the reason success feels earned, not given. The truth is, the most important work is rarely exciting. It's repetitive, it's uncomfortable, it's done in silence. But that's exactly why it works. Because while others are waiting to feel ready, disciplined people are building habits. They're making progress while others are procrastinating. They're practicing patience while others are panicking. They understand that real power comes from consistency, not mood. That's the edge that separates winners from dreamers. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. Motivation can get you started. Discipline. Every person you've ever admired has failed more times than they've succeeded. They've launched things that didn't work. They've made choices that backfired. They've fallen flat in front of people who doubted them. But the reason they're standing tall today is because they saw failure not as a verdict, but as a lesson. They didn't let the pain of it define them, they studied it. They used it as a mirror. Not a mirror to reflect shame, but a mirror to reveal gaps, blind spots, and untapped strength. Failure isn't the end of the road, it's often the beginning of your real story. It strips away the illusion of perfection. It forces you to get honest. It reveals what you still need to learn. You can't grow without it, because growth doesn't happen in success, it happens in struggle. You don't become wiser from everything going right. You become stronger by surviving what went wrong, by choosing to rise again when it would be easier to walk away. The danger isn't in failing. The danger is in thinking that failure means you're not enough. That lie is what stops people. That voice in the back of the mind that says, this is proof you don't have what it takes. But that voice is fear disguising itself as logic. Failure isn't proof you're not capable, it's proof that you're in the game. It means you're trying, stretching, risking, building. You're doing what others are afraid to do. You're moving, and anything in motion will stumble at some point. That's normal. That's necessary. The greatest breakthroughs often come right after the biggest breakdowns. That's not a coincidence, because failure creates space for reflection. It slows you down just long enough to ask better questions. It forces you to adapt, to innovate, to face the parts of yourself that were hidden during the high moments. You begin to separate ego from purpose. You stop chasing perfection and start chasing progress. Failure gives you clarity. It sharpens your focus. It humbles you in the best way by reminding you that success isn't guaranteed but earned. And when you earn it, when you finally get the win after falling 100 times, it means more. Because you didn't just succeed, you evolved, you transformed, you turned feedback into fuel. The people who never fail are not winning, they're avoiding. They're playing small. They're staying comfortable. But nothing great was ever built inside a comfort zone. You need tension. You need friction. You need moments that knock the wind out of you so you can discover the depth of your resilience. You need failure to test your commitment to find out if you want it bad enough to keep going, even when it hurts. The world tries to define you by your failures, but that only works if you agree with it, if you let one chapter write your whole story. If you let a single no silence your yes. But when you shift your mindset, when you treat failure as feedback, everything changes. You start analyzing instead of agonizing. You start asking what you can learn, how you can grow, where you need to adjust. You stop hiding your failures and start owning them because they're part of your journey, not stains on your record, but stripes of experience earned through the fire failure refines you. It sharpens your instincts. It teaches you how to separate what matters from what doesn't. It makes your next attempt smarter, faster, stronger. It becomes your greatest teacher if you let it. But only if you stop running from it and start listening to what it's trying to tell you. There is a certain kind of power that doesn't come from noise, attention, or recognition. It comes from silence. A deep, controlled, intentional silence. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind that doesn't seek validation. The kind that is steady in the storm and unmoved by the distractions of the world. Unstoppable people understand this. They know that silence is not weakness, it is discipline, it is clarity, it is strength in its most refined form. In a world addicted to noise, it's easy to think that louder is better. That speaking more means knowing more. That being seen means being strong. But those who move the world aren't always the ones shouting. Often they are the ones observing, calculating, listening, working in quiet while others are performing. When you master silence, you stop reacting emotionally and start responding intentionally. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't committed to understanding you. You stop wasting your energy trying to be seen because you know your results will speak when it's time. Silence is focus. It's the choice to block out the chaos and lock in on the mission. It's refusing to argue with critics, refusing to get pulled into distractions, refusing to let noise shake your vision. Unstoppable people know how to pause before they act. They don't let emotions hijack their decisions. They don't seek revenge, they seek results. They understand that not everything deserves their reaction, and not every situation deserves their voice. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to say nothing and keep building. They understand that growth is sacred, and sacred things don't always need an audience. When you master silence, you gain leverage. You listen more, you notice more, and you learn more. You stop talking just to fill the space, and you start speaking only when it counts. You gain control over your emotions because you're no longer reacting to every trigger. That control turns into confidence, and that confidence builds inner peace, the kind of peace that can't be broken by chaos, criticism, or confrontation. Silence is a shield. It protects you from impulsive words, from wasted arguments, from emotional sabotage. It allows you to hear your own thoughts, to process clearly, and to create from a space of strength. While others are chasing attention, the unstoppable are creating impact. While others are seeking to be heard, the unstoppable are becoming undeniable. Not because they talked about what they would do, but because they did it without saying a word. There is patience in silence, the patience to build without rushing, the patience to endure without reacting, the patience to outlast those who burn out chasing quick recognition. Unstoppable people know that greatness doesn't scream, it whispers through action. It's seen in consistency. It's earned in silence long before it's recognized in public. That's what makes it real. That's what makes it last. When others are looking for applause, the unstoppable are looking for alignment. When others are asking to be seen, the unstoppable are preparing to deliver. And while the world waits for permission, they've already taken the next step, already moved forward, already done the work in silence that will echo for years. Undeniable. Not because they talked about what they would do, but because they did it without saying a word. There is patience in silence, the patience to build without rushing, the patience to endure without reacting, the patience to outlast those who burn out chasing quick recognition. Unstoppable people know that greatness doesn't scream, it whispers through action. It's seen in consistency. It's earned in silence long before it's recognized in public. That's what makes it real. That's what makes it last. When others are looking for applause, the unstoppable are looking for alignment. When others are asking to be seen, the unstoppable are preparing to deliver. And while the world waits for permission, they've already taken the next step, already moved forward, already done the work in silence that will echo for years. Every motivational message. But if you don't believe that change is available to you, nothing will move. People get stuck not because they lack knowledge, but because they lack conviction. They doubt themselves before they even start. They let past failures write future stories. They confuse where they are with who they are. And as long as the belief stays the same, the result does too. Belief is not a motivational slogan. It's a daily lens that shapes your identity, your choices, and your outcomes. Every meaningful change you want to create, whether it's breaking a habit, starting a business, healing from pain, or rising after failure, demands belief at the root. Belief that you are not stuck. Belief that effort matters. Belief that growth is real. It doesn't mean you need perfect confidence, but it does mean you must be willing to take action before you feel ready. Because belief grows through action. The more you move, the more you start to see proof. The more proof you see, the stronger the belief becomes. And the stronger your belief, the further you go. It's a cycle that builds momentum, but it has to begin with a choice to trust that change is possible. There is nothing more powerful than someone who believes in their ability to evolve. Not someone who thinks they're perfect, not someone who has it all figured out, but someone who has decided they're no longer available for staying small. Belief doesn't mean the path is clear, it means you're willing to walk through uncertainty. It means you trust that your future is worth the risk of discomfort. It means you're no longer held hostage by the fear of not knowing how. You're driven by the vision of what could be if you just kept going. The strongest people aren't the ones who never struggled, they're the ones who refused to let struggle destroy their belief. They held on to it when it would have been easier to give up. They built it like a muscle, through repetition, through failure, through pain. They didn't wait for permission. They created their own reasons. They turned doubt into fuel. And that belief became their anchor in the storm. That belief allowed them to get back up again and again until the change they imagined became the life they lived. Change doesn't happen all at once. It begins with a decision and grows through consistent effort. But the decision only happens when belief exists. When you believe that you're not too broken, too late, too far gone. When you believe that your story can be rewritten, your future redirected, your strength renewed. That belief allows you to start when others stall. It makes you resilient when others retreat. It shifts your identity from someone who hopes to someone who acts. What you believe about yourself sets the standard for your life. You won't outperform your identity. You won't fight for a future you don't think you deserve. You won't pursue greatness if you believe you're only meant for average. But the moment that belief shifts, everything becomes possible. You stop waiting for the right time. You stop blaming your past. You stop settling for less. You begin to align your actions with a vision that is rooted in the belief that you can rise, grow, build, and lead. Belief is the beginning of every change, and without it, nothing can truly begin. Your words matter. But if your actions don't follow, trust evaporates. People listen, but they don't believe. They nod, but they don't commit. Consistency is what bridges the gap between what you say and what people feel. It transforms communication into credibility. It turns ideas into culture. It turns leadership into legacy. You build trust every time you do what you said you would do when you said you would do it in the way you promised it would be done. You build trust when you correct yourself with transparency, when you uphold standards without favoritism, when you deliver truth with compassion. These moments may seem small, even forgettable, but they are not. They are not. The thread from which trust is woven. And once that trust is strong, once people know they can count on you, they will give you their best. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because they believe you've earned it. Because your consistency has created a foundation solid enough for them to stand on. There is a difference between telling someone what to do and showing them why it matters. Between managing behavior and igniting belief. Leadership is not about giving orders, setting rules, or handing out checklists. That's instruction. And while instruction can get tasks completed, it rarely moves people to greatness. What elevates effort, what awakens passion, what transforms ordinary people into extraordinary contributors is inspiration. People do not go the extra mile because they were told to. They go because they were inspired to. They go because something inside them was lit by someone who led with purpose instead of procedure. A leader who only gives instructions is just a taskmaster. They may get short-term compliance, but they will never spark long-term commitment. You can instruct someone to follow a process, but you can't instruct them to care. Caring comes from meaning, from believing that their effort has value, from feeling connected to something bigger than the job in front of them. Inspiration taps into the deeper layers of motivation. It awakens identity. It makes people say, this is who I am, not just this is what I do. People crave inspiration more than direction, not because they don't want guidance, but because they want purpose. They want to know that what they are building matters, that the hours they pour into a project, the energy they devote to a team, the obstacles they overcome every day are leading somewhere worth going. Instruction may keep them busy, but inspiration makes them brave. It makes them bold. It gives them the strength to keep going when the plan falls apart and the path becomes uncertain. Inspiration is not about having all the answers. It's about creating the space for others to believe in themselves. It's about asking the right questions, sharing the right stories, setting the tone that says you have what it takes. The best leaders understand that their role is not to be the smartest in the room, it's to be the spark. To be the voice that lifts others when they're doubting, the vision that guides when the road is unclear, the force that reminds people of what's possible. Instruction speaks to the hands, inspiration speaks to the heart, and when the heart is engaged, the hands with more creativity, more resilience, more passion. People begin to solve problems not because they're told to, but because they care about the outcome. They begin to support one another, not because it's in their job description, but because they see themselves as part of a shared mission. That's the difference. Inspiration makes it transforms a group of individuals into a united force with common purpose. Happen in the quiet pauses, in the way a leader listens, in the words they choose during difficult times, in the way they carry themselves when no one is watching. Inspiration is not a speech you give once a quarter, it's a tone you set every day. To inspire is to trust. It's to believe in someone before they believe in themselves. It's to lead from the front, not with control, but with courage. It's to be a mirror that reflects someone's best self back to them. And when you inspire others, you don't just get results, you get loyalty, creativity, and unstoppable drive. Because when people feel inspired, they don't wait to be told what to do next. They look for how they can lead from where they are. They take initiative. They take ownership. They bring their full selves to the mission, not because they have to, but because they believe it matters.